Let's put a friendly bet. Me and you, $10, Cash App.
Oh, no problem with that.
I take the over.
Not a problem because I've wasted $10 all season every week. Greetings and salutations and welcome to the Uncoached Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and with me today is my agitated tag team partner, the Hacksaw Jim Duggan to my Sergeant Slaughter after the face turn, after the heel turn, after WrestleMania 7. The icon, the showstopper, the main event, and the reason why we are here, Coach Mike Francis. And Coach, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing well. I'm glad to be here and lucky to be here.
Yes, indeed. So today on this Throwdown Thursday edition of the Odd Coaches Podcast, we're going to talk about the potential of a Sweet 16 for NCAA football playoffs. We're also going to set the table for the 2023 season, talking about players, coaches, and programs. But I first want to begin with a public apology to the Tulane Green Wave. Tulane rallied back from 15 points down in the fourth quarter to claim a victory over the University of Southern California Trojans. So I am officially back to hating the Pac-12. I should have known better.
West Coast Willies. What do we get? West Coast Willies.
Tulane went from being 2-10 to 12-2 in the span of a year. And yes,
Coach of the year.
Dr. Adams poo-pooed them. Man, it's going to be hard to beat Gary Patterson.
Yeah, TCU, my ball.
You know, but again, Tulane, I'm sorry. You earned the victory, and Lincoln did again. And we're going to all move on now. But I've done my public apology.
He said Lincoln did again.
In terms of the national championship, fans, you know, we tape on Sunday. The game is tomorrow. So let me just tell you the particulars. And Mike and I have already made our picks. So Georgia TCU for the national championship. The spread as of now is 12.5. If I'm not mistaken, Mike, you are taking TCU in the points.
Yes, sir.
All right. And I will be taking TCU in the points because beat me, even though I think Georgia will beat them. But I'm in on it because I don't think they're going to cover 12.5.
They beat them. They just got to beat them less than 12.
The over-under is 63. Are you taking the over or the under?
I am taking the over.
I'm pausing because I'm looking at Will Cotton in my head saying, Coach, take the over. And I'm hard-headed. Somebody's going to play defense one day. And darn it, it's going to be for the national championship.
It won't be Monday.
I'm taking the under because somebody's got to defend.
Let's put a friendly bet. Me and you, $10, Cash App.
Oh, no problem with that.
I take the over.
Not a problem because I've wasted $10 all season every week. And then TCU and the money line is plus 350. So fans who are uneducated, strictly for entertainment purposes only, if you put down $100 on TCU to win on the money line, you will get your 100 back plus $350. I'm not doing that, but others just may. So anyway, Mike, I believe you have TCU in the money line, but I don't know how much you're putting down on it. So you don't have TCU?
No, I don't.
Because last week you were very confident.
Yeah, last week I was.
That was last week.
It was all good just a week ago. That's what Jay-Z said. Jay-Z said it was all good just a week ago.
All right. So anyway, fans, I hope you've enjoyed the game and the entertainment from that. But let's move on to the big topic for segment one, a possible Sweet 16 before they even have 12, Mike. Before they even have 12, they're already talking about 16. So the working group that has as many as 16 teams, they're talking about it doing it. So let's talk about who's talked about this. Sonny Dykes, head coach at TCU, says, I have thought about a 16-team playoff, and I think it's superior. The structure exists to add 4 more teams to an expanded playoff field. It's been discussed, even modeled. It was one of the 63 options presented. As recently as July, Ohio State Athletic Director Gene Smith was quoted as saying, quote, 16 teams just seems to be out there and you can't ignore it. Craig Thompson, who's the outgoing Mountain West commissioner and a member of the panel, said, I think 16 teams is most natural. MAC Commissioner John Steinbrecher says, quote, I think 16 is the number.
Yeah.
4 was better than 2. 12 is better than 4. 16 is the number in my mind.
They see
Hey.
the digits.
The American Conference commissioners, Mike Oresco, said, quote, that's where everyone sees the evolution going. I can see that happening down the road. And SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey, who did not speak specifically on a 16 team playoff bracket, says, my view is we needed to bring people into the national championship. I don't think it's healthy for college football and college football globally that a West Coast team has not been in the playoff since 2016. It's a national game. So, Mike, let's talk 12 teams and what 16 would have looked like. They're already at 16, haven't had 12 yet.
I'm looking.
In the forthcoming bracket, the 6 highest ranked conference champions will be guaranteed bids. Top 4 receiving first round buys, 6 at large team playing the rest of the field. We did that projection. We would have been wrong because Michigan stinks. And why did we believe in what we already knew was going to happen? Now let's project the 16 teams for this year. Not only would Tulane have made it and probably done a good job, but Oregon would have been in with Bo Nix. Oregon State would have been in. Florida State would have been in and would have been a problem. Washington would have been in as well. So the Pac-12 hasn't put a team in the college football playoffs over the last 6 seasons. In the 12-team bracket, they would get 1 team. In the 16-team bracket, again, based on this year's schedule, Pac-12 would have had 4 teams. Mike, what do you think about 16 teams for the college football playoff?
It's all about money. That's the only thing. I'm not thinking about nothing else. I don't worry about bringing teams in, yada, yada, yada. It's all about money. That's more sponsors. That's more money they can put together in their pocket. That's what these ADs and these presidents and all these people, they see. They don't see the teams. They don't care about that. They might be thinking maybe $1 million per team that's coming in. That's what they thinking. It's more money. It's marketable. It's turning into the NCAA men's basketball tournament because you have more teams involved. So you bring more hype, you sell more Dr. Pepper, like all of that. Yeah, that's what that's. Come on, man.
So one person questioned, hey, look, the more you guys do this, the more you creep into the big bad booty daddy of the NFL.
Right.
And you're going to lose. So does that mean you start at week 0? Also, you also have to remember that the NCAA Transformational Committee this past week recommended expanding postseasons for all sports to 25% of the teams to commit to a national championship. That's not going to happen.
Nope.
But that's that equity piece that folks are talking about. And always remember, fans, football's postseason operates outside the NCAA. So let's make sure you understand that. The expanded college football playoffs will give 9.2% of the 131 FBS teams a chance to compete for a title, and that's just with 12 teams. Expansion to 16 teams would put 12% in the field compared to the greatest tournament ever, the men's basketball tournament, which 68 of 351 participate, and that's only 19% of the entire sport. So yeah, you might want to give everybody hugs and kisses, but I don't know about that 25% thing.
No.
But Mike, could this really happen? 12 is set in stone. And again, from 12, you're going to get to 16. Kind of how it sounds.
Yeah, I mean, nobody thought the college football playoff would happen. And to be honest, the last weekend was the best weekend of college football we've seen, especially when it comes to championship. Both games were great. They got it right. NCAA got it right on this. The committee got it right. That's not always been the case. But time will come. They can put their heads together. I can see 16. I just don't see how they're going to schedule it that doesn't make it compete with the NFL. That's going to be an issue. That means that maybe some of these other bowls, you're going to have to contract. You're going to have to contract some of these other bowls to be a part of it. Like first round would be the Poland, lawnmower bowl, something like that. You know how that is, right?
Yes.
Yeah. The Camping World, what's the name? Out.
The Camping World Outback. I don't even think it was the Outback Bowl this year. I think it was called something else.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah, but that's all it's going to be, and that's going to be more money, more sponsorship. That's all.
so the structure of the expanded playoff bracket, meaning the 12 teams, is only guaranteed for 24 and 25, 2024, 2025. The CFP media rights will go out for bid ahead of the 2026 season, most likely with multiple rights holders acquiring shares of the playoffs. If the 12-team bracket is successful, it's going to be successful. Wouldn't those rights holders want more content? Ratings were up, interest was raised. My partner is not much for hyperbole. And yes, these games were good for a change, because we used to joke at how bad the games were. Will the games be just as exciting if you bump it to 12, though? Okay. Sonny Dykes thinks 12 is going to be great. In a 16-team bracket, the two finalists will be assured of playing 17 games, though. That's the NFL schedule of 17 games.
Yes, it is.
We don't want that. We don't want 17 games, because the sport continues to study limiting exposure to snaps players take by allowing the clock to run on incomplete passes, rushes out of bounds. Any further expansion needs to take player safety into consideration, Mike. The management committee has already sold the president on a 12-team bracket, meaning that in any given year, at least one team could play 17 games. Now, with 16, you're going to have multiple teams playing that. So the playoffs, if you use last year's schedule, would have started around December 15th. There will be a 15 to 17 break before the quarterfinals, and then that extra break between the championships. So any final thoughts as we talk about a Sweet 16, Mike? About the kids, baby.
About the kids. Safety, yeah.
Safety first.
Safety first. That's the only thing I definitely make sure we would have to be able to do. We got to figure that piece out. And once they figure that piece out, I think it'll be okay.
Well, I always remind folks that most of these games take place after exams, and colleges don't come back in until about January 20-something. So when you're all screaming about they're missing class time and all, no, they're not. Let's stop lying. Okay. And with that, we'll be right back on the Yacht Coaches. Yes.
The reviews are in for Dr. Keith Adams' book, Finding the Balance, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success. College professor and student athlete academic expert Dr. Lisa Rubin said, "There is nothing out there like this book, so I do hope people will pay attention and give it a read." Former George Mason standout Folarin Campbell said, "Consider this book an opportunity to work directly with Dr. Adams, just like I did. I assure you that there will be something you can take away that will be useful to you throughout your personal journey." Ryan Waite, a recent college graduate who is a software engineer, said, "I like how the book is based on research, which makes it good for general students as well as student athletes." The book serves as both a memoir to Dr. Adams' 30-year academic and athletic career, as well as an instructional guide to assist student athletes, parents, coaches, teachers, and administrators navigate through the challenges of finding a better balance between academic and athletic success. The book includes over 15 personal stories and anecdotes from Dr. Adams, along with numerous former players and colleagues from a variety of sports and endeavors. You can order your copy at www.ckasaveproject.org. From the main page, simply click CKA Save Project Services and order the Find the Balance book. For more information, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Got it. Welcome back to the Yacht Coaches Podcast, and in segment 2, we're going to set the table for next season in terms of players. So, Mike, we're going to not talk about everybody, but we're going to talk about a couple of teams. Let's talk about Florida State. Florida State defensive end Jared Verse made a pros and cons list as he weighed his future over the last 2 weeks, trying to determine whether to leave school and become a potential first-round NFL draft pick or stay one more year and improve. Now, this dude is already a first-round graded player.
Yes, he is.
But he decided he wanted another year with the Seminoles, and he announced that he's joining quarterback Jordan Travis, leading rusher Trey Benson, leading receiver Johnny Wilson, and several other players who announced that they're coming back to Florida State next year. Florida State's going to be a problem. Mike, what do you think about his move? And what do you think about Florida State going into the offseason? Because I think there's a futures bet for the OCP on Florida State.
I think they probably use a calculator to decide. That's all I'm going to say. They probably use a calculator to decide if they're going to stay or they're going to go. There's this thing called NIL. I'm sure I can get the bag together to make sure they come back.
Yeah. Well, in a phone interview with ESPN, Verse said the feedback he got from the NFL was consistent with the projections out there, but he believes he has much to improve on. So, hey, this is him. This is his journey, my friend. I probably would have rolled, but
number 11. If he projected to go number 11, like some of the reports say, I would have kicked my son in the ass. I ain't trying to hear that.
Look, man, run your own race. So we're gonna go on to Michigan State and our favorite coach, Mel Tucker.
Before NIL.
Love that dude. Michigan State's cornerback Kerry Crump, who was facing a felony charge for the skirmish inside Michigan Stadium after the game, pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor on Thursday. So the felony charges was dropped in a deal with prosecutors, and Crump's record will be scrubbed clean if he stays out of trouble while on probation. Crump was one of the 7 Michigan State players facing charges after scuffles broke out in the Michigan tunnel after Michigan defeated the Spartans 29-7. Videos show players pushing, punching, and kicking Michigan's Jaden McBurrows. Crump in one of the videos apparently swung his helmet at a Michigan player. Nichols said a letter of apology to Green was a part of the deal. Crump was suspended by Coach Mel Tucker. In addition, the Big Ten has suspended him for 8 games next year. Any thoughts, sir?
It's a travesty. It's a travesty. That young man, with all the things that's been going on and everything that happened on that, he's the one to get that charge. That's a travesty. He should not be charged for that. He should not. That's just my opinion. Not no felony, not to drop a misdemeanor, because if it was a felony, first of all, he couldn't take the scholarship. So that's the one good thing about it. And he would never be able to receive financial aid. But they put him in a situation where I don't know why both teams are in the same tunnel. Can somebody explain that to me?
We still have yet to know about the Michigan security thing. All we did was hear, and we did report on the show that Michigan has restructured its security plans, and hopefully these things won't happen again. But Michigan, for like a 2 or 3 week stretch, had all kinds of problems.
Right. Why are these both teams in the same tunnel? Explain that to me.
So,
why do we put kids in situations when we know kids don't have the coping skills or common sense, as you say, that
they lack myelin, which is great brain matter.
Yes.
And
they don't have it.
They're prone to poor decision making.
They don't have the moral development that supposedly we as adults are supposed to have, which most adults don't. But you can't put them in that situation and expect them to just, act accordingly when they've never been in that situation before.
All right. So let's talk TCU. Okay. TCU is adding former Alabama running back Trey Sanders, the 3rd ex-Crimson Tide player to be picked up by the Horned Frogs in recent weeks. Sanders announced his commitment to TCU on Twitter last week. He was limited to 14 carries a season, but had 448 rushing yards on 102 carries in his first 2 seasons for the Crimson Tide. And coming out of high school, he was ESPN's 16th overall recruit in the class of 2019. Sanders, who will also have 2 years of eligibility left, could boost a TCU team that might enter 2023 without his top 2 rushers. Brock Meyer, who grew up near TCU in Fort Worth, was the ESPN number 2 overall recruit and top in-state prospect in 2021. And then Early was a number 76 recruit in 2021. He had 24 receptions over 2 seasons at Alabama. Sonny Dykes, who we have been talking about a lot recently, has said, we expect to compete against Alabama, not only in recruiting, but on the field. So the thing is, you don't want to start taking a bunch of guys Alabama that can't play for Alabama, because in theory, they should be able to play for you as well.
Exactly.
Any thoughts on TCU swinging for the fences in recruiting?
Yeah, it sounds like too many. Like you said earlier, it sounds like too many guys from if they ain't playing in Alabama, why you want
Maybe it wasn't a good fit.
them? Okay.
Okay. So Notre Dame, shout out to Jake. Happy New Year, Jake. Sam Hartman, widely regarded as one of the top transfer quarterbacks this season. Mike, let's stop there. That's actually something we follow now. Who is the top transfers?
Who number one in the portal? Who number one in the portal?
All right, I'm sorry. He is headed to Notre Dame, and he announced his decision on social media and will spend his final year of college eligibility with the Irish. Mike, as a football coach, how bad do you feel if you're in that quarterback room and this dude just rolls in and says, "Here I am, make me look good." Okay. So Hartman's decision to pick Notre Dame has been expected since he entered the transfer portal on December 27th. Again, Mike, this is what you need on your staff. Who's in the daggum portal? Okay. Mm-hmm. Hartman brings a dynamic element to Notre Dame's offense, as he is the ACC career leader in touchdown passes with 110 in 5 seasons at Wake Forest. He is second in ACC history with close to 13,000 passing yards behind only Phillip Rivers from NC State. He joins a Notre Dame program that is expected to start the season highly ranked, as the Irish finished 9-4, winning 6 of their final 7 games. So that's what we're going to hear about in the offseason. And again, we're planning futures bets. And that included a bowl victory over South Carolina, an upset over Clemson, and a blowout victory at Syracuse. Last year's starter for the Irish, Drew Pine, went 8-2, but he transferred to Arizona State. By the way, we're going to have to do a segment in the future on all of those new quarterbacks going to the Pac-12, because they got like a bomb squad of quarterbacks now, and that should be fun to watch. Wait, we won't watch them because their games are on too late. Okay. Notre Dame opens 2023 in Ireland against Navy. They also host Ohio State September 23rd. They travel to Clemson November 4th, and Hartman will see his old teammates and coaches when Notre Dame hosts Wake Forest on October 28th. What do you think about Notre Dame getting a new quarterback, man? And he's a good quarterback. Okay.
Yeah, good for. I think that's good. That's what they're going to need to get to the next level. I think Notre Dame, you can get linemen. You can get linebackers. I think skill positions is where they lack most of the time. They're almost like a Big Ten kind of team, if you ask me, the way that they play and the way they recruit. So, but if they can get a good quarterback, long gone are the days of Lou Holtz when he used to get them. You know what I mean? He used to get them too.
Yeah, Tony Rice ain't coming through that door.
Hall of Famers, Rome Bettis, Ricky Waters.
Man, I ain't heard that name in a while.
Think about it. Yeah, Brown. All them guys that came through that joint. Rakeem Ishmael, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So now we're going to go to the Big 12/SEC. Oklahoma quarterback Dylan Gabriel announced last week that he's coming back for the 2023 season. He said, and I quote on social media, "The Island Boy has found a home in Oklahoma." Gabriel, yeah. Hawaii, if I'm not mistaken. Gabriel's a 5'11", yes, 204 junior from Hawaii, who threw for 3,100 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions this season, despite missing much of the season, much of the TCU game, I should say, after suffering a brutal hit to the head and missed the following game, which was Oklahoma's 49-0 loss to Texas. He also threw for 315 and 6 touchdowns, rushing. So what do you think about Dylan Gabriel coming back? And is this the kid that used to be at UCF? If I'm not mistaken.
I think it is a kid that used to be at UCF. That's true. Only problem I got with this story is you mentioned Big 12/SEC. Don't ever put anybody with the SEC.
Hey, Oklahoma's going
Man, I
to
don't wanna
the
hear
SEC.
that. They part of they ain't. Don't do them like that. Don't bring the SEC down like that.
Well, they're about to take that check.
They are.
Finally, fans.
One more year, right?
One more year, if I'm not mistaken, unless something happens. I don't think they're going to come early because that's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is.
So the University of Southern California, USC, continues to mine the transfer portal for offensive talent and has landed a commitment from running back Marshawn Lloyd, who led South Carolina in rushing this year. So he's going from USC to USC. Lloyd announced his commitment on Twitter. He rushed for 573 yards and 9 touchdowns on 111 carries for the Gamecocks as a true sophomore. He had much of his production in the middle of the season before being slowed by a deep thigh bruise. He is also an emerging receiving threat with 18 receptions for 176 yards and 2 touchdowns. He entered the transfer portal December 12th. The 5'9", 212-pound Lloyd is a Delaware native, and he was ranked number 56 by ESPN in the 2020 class. Any thoughts about that pickup leaving South Carolina for USC?
That's tough. That's tough. But I maybe is he from that area? I'm trying.
Oh, he's from Delaware. He's from Delaware.
And he left to go to the West Coast.
So he went from Delaware to South Carolina to Southern California.
And then next year he'll be going somewhere else. Mark it. Stamp it. Time stamp it. He'll be somewhere else next year.
All right. So when we get back, fans, we're going to go from players to coaches and programs as we set the table for the 2023 season on the Odd Coaches Podcast.
There is an old business adage that says, what gets measured and monitored gets done. It is also fact that deadlines spur action. That is what the CKA Save Project's academic monitoring service can do for student athletes. Measure and monitor their academic progress to improve their grades. Our academic monitoring services provide ongoing academic support for student athletes for a designated period of time. Our academic success coaches work with student athletes on time management and organizational skills, along with improving their ability to self-advocate. Every few weeks, our academic success coaches meet with student athletes to assess their academic progress as well as provide ongoing academic advising. If needed, student athletes have access to CKA Learning Specialists who provide virtual core subject academic support for student athletes. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free virtual consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast. In segment 3, we're going to set the table for coaches and some programs next year. So we're going to talk a little bit about South Carolina. Lost some players, but I don't think Coach Beamer's upset. Mike, Shane Beamer, who guided South Carolina to an 8-win season. Again, fans, we're talking about an 8-win season that included wins over top 10 foes like Tennessee and Clemson, as predicted by the OCP. Had his contract extended through 2027, given a raise of nearly $4 million after it was approved by the Board of Trustees in a meeting last week. Beamer's deal will average in the neighborhood of $6.5 million annually. He is slated to earn $6.1 million in 2023, and his salary will increase each year from there. Quote, Coach Beamer has done a tremendous job as the leader of our football program, said South Carolina Athletic Director Ray Tanner. His passion and desire to excel on and off the field have inspired our student athletes and great fan base. I'm excited about the synergy and trajectory of our football program. He knows what a high quality football program should encompass. I'm delighted that he's our football coach. Point 5, please look up Dawn Staley's annual salary.
All right. No.
Beamer's buyout remains unchanged from his
old,
which paid him $2.75 million annually.
It ain't
And if he were fired without cause, the university will owe the first year and his buyout would decrease $1 million annually.
2.9. 2.9.
Again, we're happy Dawn Staley's making $2.9 million.
That's a lot of money. I didn't think she was making that much.
And she's in South Carolina. And my wife and I love going to dinner in South Carolina because the bills are just a little lower than it is in Maryland. And she's won a national championship and he won 8 games. Again, we're not mad. Get the bag. But if she wins again, I want them to call her too. In addition, and this is what I really want your opinion on, Mike, because you talk about staffs all the time. South Carolina announced that Lonnie Teasley would be the permanent offensive line coach after serving as interim coach last year and filling in for Greg Atkins, who had health issues.
Mhm.
Teasley received a 2-year deal worth $410,000 per year. Several other assistants also received raises, 4 of which got increases of at least $100,000 a year. The raises signify a major commitment that Beamer wants and shows a strong show of support for the university because Beamer was previously the lowest paid coach in the SEC at $2.75 million and one of the lowest paid coaches in the Power 5. Mike, you talk all the time about the staff privately. Can you tell me a little bit about your thoughts on South Carolina's commitment in Shane Beamer?
It's a lot of money. And I think that where you're going, it's not, we talked about directional schools, right?
Yeah, with Chris Beard yesterday.
We talk about directional schools, and this is a commitment to for recruiting too. You want him to know that he's there. If you're not serious enough to pay the coach comparable to what the other coaches are, you might not want to play for him.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, why am I going to be here if there's no security about you being here? But when they find out they paying him that serious money, you're like, oh, he ain't going nowhere. All right, the school believes in him, so I should too. So I think it's a good deal. And plus, South Carolina, they didn't have a horrible season this year.
8, and so their 8 wins sounds good.
Yeah.
Other 8 wins sound
horrible.
bad.
Right.
So
Alabama win 8 games, we mad. Texas win 8 games, it's a problem.
he won 8 games and got a big raise. So
Michigan, Ohio State, if they win 8 games, somebody getting fired.
So
Maryland win 8 games and we ready to renew his contract.
So let's talk about Texas A&M now. They did not have a good year, Mike. And Adams kind of called that with the season-long bet, but I digress. We'll reset and recalibrate. But Texas A&M has hired Bobby Petrino as the offensive coordinator, the school announced last week. Petrino, who is expected to take over play calling duties from Aggies coach Jimbo Fisher. Because Jimbo did call a lot of good plays last year. Yeah. He most recently served as head coach of FCS, Missouri State Directional School. From 2020
get back in,
2020 through this past season. He was also hired as offensive coordinator for UNLV December 2022. So he ain't even making a month in UNLV before he switches and goes back to the SEC. Petrino arrives to College Station, Texas, with a lot of experience as a head coach on multiple levels. He worked 2 stints at Louisville, 2003, 2006, 2014, 2018. He also had stays with the Atlanta Falcons in 2007. We try not to mention that. Arkansas from 2008 to 2011, and Western Kentucky from 2013. Petrino can coach. We're going to stop that. We're making some jokes, and you're going to find out why we make some jokes a little earlier, except the Atlanta Falcons job. That's not a joke. But he was 137 and 71 overall as a head college coach, and if Texas A&M improves next year, somebody's going to call him. Petrino has produced a number of successful quarterbacks in his time, including Lamar Jackson, and he's going to I'm just reading the press release.
Okay.
He will also team up with a former 5-star recruit and Connor Weckman, who came in on the latter half of the year and improved, apparently. Fisher has called plays his entire career, but fans have clamored for a new play caller since Fisher led the team to a 5-7 record. Point 5, what's Jimbo Fisher's average annual salary at Texas A&M? So this is what 5-7 gets you on the pay window. Petrino is no stranger
Oh my
to
God.
controversy.
Woo.
Fans, we would be remiss if we didn't
Woo.
mention that he resigned as the Falcons coach after 13 games to take the Arkansas job. So this is a guy who left the NFL and ran to Arkansas. Okay. The third shortest coaching tenure in NFL history. During his last in the SEC as coach at Arkansas, Petrino was fired after engaging in an affair with a football staffer who was inadvertently revealed following a motorcycle crash. And there was a press conference where Petrino has a neck brace on,
Yo,
like Vince McMahon did during the steroid trial.
Patino and Petrino. Wow.
I did
never put that together. You did that
that's
on
a
purpose.
Freudian slip.
You did it on purpose.
His second stint in Louisville also ended with a thud as the Cardinals lost 7 consecutive conference games after Jackson left for the NFL. What was that salary for Jimbo Fisher? $9 million, folks. That's what 5 and 7 get you at Texas A&M. So, Mike, yesterday we talked about Chris Beard possibly coming back to a Power 5 after leaving Texas. Folks like Bobby Petrino are why I say I think he's going to get another shot. What do you think about Bobby Petrino going to Texas A&M?
Petrino and Patino both in Louisville. I saw what you did there. You're not slick.
That was accidental.
Okay. Was he an offensive coordinator? I don't know what he's like. I really don't know if he's an offensive coordinator or this was just a throwback or him hiring someone who makes it look like he's not going to be calling the plays or whatever. Does he really try? Like, I don't know. If I had to hire an offensive coordinator, it would be Lane Kiffin. I mean, I know he's a head coach, but to me, he might be the best offensive coordinator in college football right now. Him and Steve Sarkisian, to me. Those two call plays unbelievably. And Mike Locksley, but he's a head coach too. So Mike's a great offensive coordinator. So I don't know if Petrino was an offensive coordinator. To me, he was never known for that. But that's just,
Well, he developed Lamar Jackson. You see how they latch on?
That's what I wanted to make sure to tell you. Did he really develop Lamar Jackson? Like you had following Campbell, I had Kevin Hammond.
Yes.
A good player makes you look great. A great player makes you look unbeatable. It's we're just coaches, man. Don't come to me. People, hey, you didn't know. He did that. It just so happened my 5 years at Ole Miss, I had the best player.
Yes.
I had the best big man, the best wing, and arguably the best point guard. That didn't make me I'm running the same stuff I ran at other schools. It's just I had the best players.
I am fond of saying, because I had a chance to coach Jamal Wise as well. And he was the Maryland Player of the Year in 2001. So I coached 2 guys that were, top 10 players in Montgomery County's history, and they both had the same thing in common. They allowed me the opportunity to instruct them. That was it. And I tell teachers, I tell students, I tell business leaders, anybody we work for, if you allow people the opportunity to help you and to provide you insight and give you pause. I made Follerin pause. To this day, Follerin will say, yeah, Coach, man, I think about something you said, or Jamal Wise, who's the head coach of Montgomery College in the state of Maryland, one of the best JUCOs in the country. That's all. He said, hey, he broke his arm. Okay, you can't play right now, but you can still condition. You can still work on your left hand. There are things you can do. So every day at practice, Jamal would sit in a chair with his left hand and work on his left hand every day at practice. He would do these things. And there are other players that you coach that would just blow it off. I was at a practice yesterday, and the guys on the side, when instruction was taking place, I don't know what they were doing, but they were listening to instruction. So when they subbed in, the coach had to say the same thing. And I said, that's why people are going to the portal, because I don't have time to give you an individual educational plan, IEP, about this program. I don't have time for that. So I'm just going to get folks who are going to lock in to first-time instruction. And as a teacher, you're an admin now, you're doing the classroom observations. It is critical for first-time instruction to take place. And if you allow folks the first time to give you the best instruction and then you keep working to get better, we don't seek perfect, we seek better. And that's, that situation. So Lamar Jackson, to me, as a pro, continued to seek better. That's what I saw. So I don't know. You know more about football than I do.
Basketball don't come with accommodations.
Okay. We're going to run to our last story of the day so we both don't get in meetings and say we're going to set the table next year for programs. And we want to talk about Michigan football because Michigan football is under investigation. The NCAA is investigating the program for alleged violations during COVID. What's up with y'all during COVID? Arizona State got Herm out of there, and now Michigan's got issues during that. The violations include alleged impermissible contact with recruits during the NCAA mandated dead periods.
This is bullshit.
Stop it. As well as the use of a defensive analyst for on-field coaching activities, which is a rules violation. Sources told ESPN that Harbaugh's cooperation with NCAA enforcement staff during the investigation is also being examined. Harbaugh could face penalties that include a multi-game suspension. Harbaugh has also been in talks with the Carolina Panthers, but we'll talk about that later.
Why is this coming after they lose? This just happened after they lose?
The NCAA.
Just after they lose? Would we be hearing about this if they had be playing for the national championship?
I don't know. In Kansas,
Kansas was under investigation doing a national title run for basketball. Like, come on, man, stop it.
The NCAA has prepared a draft of notice of allegations to give Michigan, according to a source, that includes level 1 violations for Harbaugh, not complying with or misleading NCAA investigators. Level 1 violations fans are the most serious and can lead to harsher penalties. The winningest program in college football and harsher penalties. I'm just going to let that sit for a second. The draft also includes 4 level 2 violations centered around the impermissible recruiting contact during the COVID period, according to a source. These violations are less serious and the ones that Harbaugh was asked about during enforcement. NCAA bylaws require head coach to monitor their staff and maintain an atmosphere of compliance within their programs. Coaches who fail to do so are subject to penalties. Mike, before we close, as a number 1 fan of athletics, any thoughts on this? Under investigation. What do you think?
So you say the winners program? Who's the winners program in basketball?
0.5. Who's the winners program in college
Kansas,
basketball?
Right?
Men's college basketball.
Kansas or North Carolina?
I don't know. I got 0.5 on. He'll let us know shortly.
2 of the blue bloods are under investigation for violation, and they got all the wins. And neither one of them was investigated, or you heard about it till after the season was over. Okay,
That is correct.
put that together.
Well, it is hard.
I ain't conspiracy man, but
It's hard to coach. Who's the winningest program? Kansas is the winningest program. So this is why my partner's one of the rising administrators. So the winningest football program is currently under investigation, and the winningest basketball program was under investigation, and their coach served penalties. If I'm not mistaken, he missed 4 games and was able to catch up with the team in the Bahamas or something like that. I got to go back to the past show. With that, Mike, any final comments now that that's been confirmed by the greatest 0.5 intern in the history of the world?
It's crazy, man. It's crazy, man. It's something. We'll see that.
It's crazy,
All
man.
right, man. All right, nothing. Happy New Year to everybody.
Fans, it is very hard to maintain a high school program, much less a college program, much less a college program with this much influence. So one of the goals of Dr. Adams is to be a chief of staff, because you do need people who are just locked into the program as a whole. So my suggestions, both to Michigan, Kansas, and any other program, is make sure you hire someone who can just kind of look at your organization from 30,000 feet and just kind of give you ideas and advice and so forth. So call us. CKA is available. So on behalf of my tag team partner, Coach Mike Francis.
Hourly too.
Hourly too. Yes, indeed. I am Dr. Keith Adams. Our rates are on the website. Say thank you for listening and or watching the Odd Coaches podcast. Kelly, pop the website on the screen, and we will see you on the sidelines. So next time, take care. Mike, as Jeff says, we have too much fun. We'll see you next week.
The Odd Coaches podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress, to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org. We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach Franchize. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches podcast.